everybody who's registered. You're going to be joining us with our guests in a few minutes when we get started here with our COVID conversations on the topic of Ukrainian Canadian Credit Unions. We're just going live to Facebook, so I just always need about 45 seconds to do that. And clicking through there. So we have a good panel for you tonight. We have credit unions from across Canada, as well as the CUCUC, who will talk about the impact of COVID on their members, on their services. We have had a number of COVID community conversations as well from the summer through to the fall, and all of those are found on our UCC YouTube channel. So we're just going to go live here. All right, so as we go live, I'm going to introduce our guests, and I'm going to ask them to actually introduce themselves because they can tell us more about themselves than I can. So I'm going to just go in the order that I have them on my screen. And again, we've asked them to do a presentation in whatever language they feel they would like, and we will translate back. So that is the order that we have tonight. So going first, I have Ivanna Baran-Purkiss from BCU Financial. She is the Director of Corporate Communications and Marketing. So Ivanna, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about BCU Financial?
Sure. Добрий вечір, дорогі друзі. Мені припала честь сьогодні представляти кредитову спілку «Будучність». And thank you, Ihor and UCC, for hosting this panel and for having all of us here to discuss how our network of credit unions serve our Ukrainian communities across Canada. BCU Financial is a full-service member-owned financial institution, and we have over 20,000 members, and currently with BCU Wealth Management, we have over $1 billion in assets under management. So we've grown a lot thanks to the loyalty and support of our community, and we are here to help them through this time.
Excellent. So next I have Pani Ludmyla Datsenko, Marketing Coordinator from Caisse populaire Ukrainienne Desjardins in Montreal. Pani Ludmyla.
Так, добрий вечір. Дуже дякую за запрошення. Я представляю Desjardins Caisse Ukrainienne de Montréal. І українська каса в Монреалі, вона існує для того, щоб підтримувати українську громаду, не тільки українську громаду, але, в принципі, це один з наших головних принципів існування. І сьогодні я сподіваюся, що зможу розказати вам, як ми справилися з цим непростим періодом і як ми будемо рухатися далі.
Добре, дуже дякую. Next, joining us is Roman Litwinchuk, COO, Chief Operating Officer from Ukrainian Credit Union Limited. Romana?
Добрий вечір. Good evening, everyone. Glad to join everyone this evening to share our experiences and what we've done and plan to do during this, trying times during the pandemic, which does not seem to be improving. Ukrainian Credit Union just finished celebrating their 75th anniversary. We've been in operation. We have 15 locations all across Ontario, from Thunder Bay to Ottawa to St. Catharines to Windsor, covering pretty well all of the province, and just under 25,000 members. We too are a full-service credit union providing retail and commercial services, as well as wealth management services as well, and including our wealth management assets. We're in north of $1 billion in assets.
Excellent, дуже дякую. And then next on my list, I have Lisa Yawarski, the Chief Member Experience Officer at Carpathia Credit Union. Lisa.
Thank you. Dobry вечір. Thank you for having me this evening. Carpathia Credit Union is Manitoba's only member-owned Ukrainian credit union, we merged with, or North Winnipeg and Carpathia merged July of last year. And so we have about 10,000 members, 6 branches, all in the city of Winnipeg. And we are a full service credit union with about 600 million in assets.
Great, thank you, Lisa. And I am a member of Carpathia. We are now going to go over to our last guest, Mikhaileshin, who is the president of the Council of Ukrainian Credit Unions of Canada. Mikhail.
So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to the Ukrainian Canadian Congress for hosting us on their platform and making this happen. A little about the Council of Ukrainian Credit Unions of Canada. We are a not-for-profit trade association formed and managed by our Canadian provincial credit union members, essentially to promote the collective interests of ethno-Ukrainian credit unions in Canada. So welcome. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. So with that, we're going to get into our conversation. As I've outlined to our panelists, we're going to divide our time into 2 parts. The first part is talking about what the impact of COVID-19 has been on their organization, on their members, on themselves, from, we always remember, Friday, March 13th, onward through the spring, through the summer, or through the fall. And then, so we'll go around and talk about that. And then in the second part, we'll have a discussion with everybody about what their organizations are doing now, looking forward as the pandemic continues and as you know, the health rules change, sometimes day to day, week to week, hour to hour, depending where you are. So we will have a little bit of conversation on that. So I'm going to start with Ivanna. Back to our first question, what was the impact for BCU Financial starting that Friday, March 13th and onward?
All right, easy question, I guess. So, I mean, as we all know, this has really truly been an unprecedented moment as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to evolve and impact all of us. And now with the second wave impacting Ontario and quite frankly, the whole country in quite a substantial way, we're continuously monitoring the situation. Our primary focus from the beginning has always been the safety and well-being of our employees and of our members. We are implementing best practices according to the guidance provided by health officials, and we've taken extra precautionary measures on top of that to ensure the health and safety of our staff and our members, while also protecting our critical business functions in order to continue providing the same personal service that our members expect. We've implemented many of these measures before they were legislated or enforced by bylaws, and BCU has tried to stay ahead of the game as much as possible. At the onset of the lockdown, we initiated a BCU member wellness campaign, which focused not just on financial well-being of our members, but also gave us an opportunity to ensure that our members had other help and supports in place, including help with groceries or other needs. And this was especially important for our more vulnerable members. We visited our older members and made house calls as much as possible when required, while maintaining safety protocols in order to ensure that all of our members could access our services. And of course, we had to make major changes to the way we conduct our annual general meeting this year. And with the help of our IT team, we were one of the first in our community to hold a successful virtual AGM, and in fact helped provide advice to our other credit unions in the community on how we facilitated this virtual meeting so that they could do the same. And as always, we were able to provide our annual report online for our members. As the pandemic evolved in the early months, we at BCU Financial had to make really hard decisions to reduce our staffing levels and our hours of operations, as many businesses and essential services had done across the province and across the country. We've since expanded those hours at most of our locations, and we've resumed our regular staffing levels. As with most places, our branches require our employees, our members and visitors to wear face coverings or masks while on our premises. And we've also made masks available at our branches for a nominal fee, and the proceeds of which go to BCU Foundation to help those most affected by COVID-19. And our branches are also continuing to limit the number of members inside each location and practice social distancing. In order to reduce community gathering at our branches, we are continuing to encourage our members to stay home, to utilize our BC Link telephone, internet, and mobile banking services as much as possible. We've put extra resources into our e-banking services and our member services department, which is here to assist our members over the phone. And we've introduced new enhanced user features for Interact e-transfer, as well as made enhancements to our internal BCU financial transfers. E-transfer Interact is a secure and convenient method for our members to send or receive funds, and now they're able to request money and auto deposit through Interact e-transfer. BC Financial is also part of the exchange network, which allows our members to make deposits and access their accounts at over 43,000 surcharge-free ATMs in North America, which is also a convenient service for our members when they're not able to join us in the branch. And we're here to help our members as much as possible. And for many of them, the transition to e-banking has been extremely beneficial and convenient, and most of all encourages our members to only visit us when it's essential. And for those members who've experienced and continue to experience financial hardship as a result of the pandemic and the measures related to it, we are committed to work with them. We work with our members on an individual basis to find the best solution to assist them. And we've already helped nearly 200 small businesses access government support through Canada Emergency Business Account. Our approach at BC Financial is different from other major financial institutions, just like the credit union system across the board. We are a member community, and our relationship with our members and our approach to finding solutions to their challenges are more personal. Throughout our 65 years of community service, we've played and continue to play an integral role within the larger Ukrainian community as a major financial contributor and benefactor. Кредитова спілка «Продучність» ми горді своєю відданістю українській громаді. І разом із фундацією Кредитова спілка «Продучність» відіграє провідну роль в нашій громаді як найбільша фінансова складова частина української громади Канади, яка фінансово підтримує різного роду проекти та основні події всіх громадських організацій. І під час пандемії ця підтримка не зупинилась. Власне, під час пандемії ця підтримка стала більш важливою для нашої громади. Кредитова спілка «Будучність» та фундація підтримала нашу суспільну службу, яка допомагала тим, яким найбільш потребували різного роду допомоги. We've helped provide equipment and other supports for many of our community schools and daycare centers, including Joseph Cardinal Stupé and Litwinchuk, Lesser Ukrainka School in Ottawa, amongst many others. І ми не забули за наші храми. Деякі розпочали перебудови і різні проекти перед тим, щоб пандемія почала, і було потрібно фінансово підтримати наші церкви. Серед них Український католицький собор Успення Пресвятої Богородиці в Мисисога, Український католицький собор Покрови Пресвятої Богородиці в Торонті, та Церква Святого Духа в Хамільтоні і другі. And we've supported many virtual activities and initiatives in our community during this time, including the very successful virtual День Незалежності, Ukrainian Independence Day, organized by Ukrainian Canadian Congress Toronto branch, which brought our entire community together to celebrate at a time when so many of us needed a reason to do so. We continue to provide financial support to our students with a successful scholarship program, having provided a total of 8 scholarships ranging from $1,500 to $2,500 each to deserving students across the province. І ми не забули за нашу рідну Україну. І далі підтримуємо різні організації та проекти, включно із Марафоном слави з нагоди свята Покрови, яка зорганізувала Ліга українців та українок Канади та спілка українців. І збирання фондів поможе передати медичну, психологічну та гуманітарну підтримку для поранених воїнів війни на сході України, як і їх нашим родинам і сиротинцям. And this is just a small example of the work we've done to ensure our community continues to be served and supported during this time. And we believe in facing challenges together, and we're grateful to our dedicated staff and to our members for their understanding, their cooperation, and most importantly, their loyalty and trust in us to help them with their financial needs through this extremely difficult time.
Okay, great. Pani Ludmyla from Caisse populaire in Montreal. What was the impact of COVID on the Desjardins membership and the community in Montreal?
Так, дякую дуже. Well, CASA members, clients, and CASA employees were all affected by the changes caused by COVID-19. Apart from the long hair and stress-related weight, March 2020 brought to our lives shock and denial, anger, some depression. Now we all are learning how to accept life with the virus and find ways to move on. We didn't have to let go any people, any employees of the CASA, and we introduced remote work for financial advisors and other employees when possible, and digital communication with the clients came to the fore. So since then, we have been meeting with our clients mostly via Microsoft Teams, emails, or telephone. During the first wave of the lockdown, there were many Desjardins services counters closed, and Desjardins Caisse Ukrainienne became one of the key service points for many members of East Montreal. Visiting the building of the Caisse is still an important routine for older and more conservative members, including those who have difficulty with online services. As for our products, essentially, our product didn't change except for some new emergency relief financing. The bank interest rates decreased according to the realities of the economic changes of the year. Desjardins introduced payment deferrals for mortgages, loans, and lines of credit based on federal government guidelines. Clients were able to defer their loan payment for up to 6 months, depending on the product and their situation. In order to help our personal members and clients to meet their financial obligations in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, Desjardins implemented special relief measures offering solutions for the following products and services: consumer loans and lines of credit, contactless payment, credit cards, emergency loans, insurance, mortgages, registered retirement income funds. The same relief measures were introduced for business. We know how difficult it is for business to survive, to stay open, to make payroll, keep cash on hand. So we are offering solutions for the following products: financing, including government programs, credit cards, insurance relief measures. Desjardins Caisse Ukrainienne coordinates with government programs, federal and provincial, to provide additional solutions and support during this time. Within the Canada Emergency Business Account Program, I'm sure that we all know about it, our office, together with Desjardins Business Center, we're helping clients to obtain interest-free loans up to $40,000. Also, Desjardins provides support measures for young people, including psychological assistance and legal assistance. Bank service charges were more flexible in the beginning of the pandemic, and now they're back to normal. The pandemic gave us the opportunity to revise the safety criteria of being in the bank for our clients and our employees. Starting from spring 2020, we have increased the frequency of cleaning in the Caisse. We installed screens, disinfectors. We purchased new washable chairs for the waiting area. Very soon we will be installing new counters and plan to change floor covering. All employees wear masks, often gloves, when dealing with clients, documents, or cash. Clients are not allowed to enter the premises without a mask. After entering the building, each client is obliged to wipe their hands with disinfectant. The human flow of clients is controlled by a security guard. Entry and exit areas are separated by different doors. As for the promotion of the services of our Caisse, all events with personal contact were postponed or canceled. So the main focus of communication these days is on digital media. We actively use social networks, and our main task today is to engage our client in communicating with us via telephone, email, YouTube, Microsoft Teams, Facebook, etc. Ivanna reminded us about our Ukrainian food festival that we launched successfully on our Facebook page, and we're satisfied with the results in terms of engaging people to be with us, to feel that we are part of their life. One of the key success factors was to educate our clients to use internet banking for their needs. Desjardins right away created short videos with clear guidance on each task that our clients might need to fulfill. There are simple tasks like how to use ATM machine, how to open an account remotely, how to pay the bill remotely. So we took those little videos and translated them into Ukrainian, which was very helpful. We also produced a series of videos in Ukrainian. So we were explaining the programs available to our members, individuals, students, businesses, investors, borrowers. The most popular is how to open an account remotely. In general, the customer service process since then became more modern. Most customers have switched to online communication with us. People are getting used to meetings through Teams, and they understand why we ask additional questions about personal verifications and identification of the clients. Security and identification measures remain at a high level despite minimizing contact with the client. And the level of the scamming remains unchanged compared to the pre-COVID period. Many Desjardins helplines working actively, especially supporting old people and lonely people. In 2019, we developed Desjardins Identity Protection that is now offered to all Desjardins members and clients. The client won't suffer a financial loss if unauthorized transactions are made in his or her Desjardins accounts. If a client's personal information is used fraudulently, we'll provide him or her with individual support. Depending on the needs, our team of experts and lawyers will be there throughout the identity recovery process. Also, all Desjardins members and clients can be reimbursed up to $50,000 for certain expenses incurred while restoring their identity. So that's briefly about our...
Great, Dякую. I want to hear more about these videos. I like that, the idea of a video to help people like me figure out how to do online banking. Okay, next we're going to go to Roman. Roman, UCU, you have branches all over Ontario. I'm just going to unmute you here. Can you hear us, Roman? There you go. There you go. So,
okay.
Ivanna, tell us about the impact of COVID on UCU. You have branches in multiple cities all over the province, so I can imagine that that's been complicated. Take us through the experience from March onward for UCU. So
again, it's not different than the previous speakers. We did a lot of the same. As Ivanna said, our first primary concern was when the pandemic was announced, and I remember I was driving to a funeral on that day, and I remember it being announced. So, like clear as day. But our primary concern was the safety of our members and our staff, and how do we operate in. At that time, no one knew what was going to happen. Not a lot was known about the virus, how long it was going to be around. Was this going to be like, I think a lot of us thought, a couple of months, 3 months, we'll be back to normal. And here we are in the new normal. So that was our primary concern. We had internal procedures and policies that we triggered to cause our action to cause us to get into action to deal with this situation, which we did very quickly. We at the outset, we first of all introduced internal communications with all staff. You mentioned having staff all across the province. So we had at the start of the pandemic, we had actually daily, I call them touch points, COVID-19 touch points, where we just communicated and kept the channels open with all our locations, and also feeding or getting information from our branches on what the members were experiencing, what they were doing, how they were reacting to the pandemic. So that was very, very helpful. We still do that now to this day, once a week, and keep that communication open. We also reduced our branch hours fairly early in the pandemic, and this was to reduce, to increase social distancing, reduce traffic, and to reduce contact with members and our staff. It was challenging. I think Ludmyla, you touched on stressful times, and I think there were some of our members who just didn't believe there was a pandemic and just thought it's business as normal. So it was challenging at times to communicate and get the point to our members that this is not something that's to be taken lightly, and we're closing and reducing hours for a reason. And actually since then we've kept the hours pretty much the same. We've opened up some of our GTA branches on Friday nights a little bit longer, and a couple of branches on Saturdays, but we've really stuck to keeping those branches with reduced hours. Of course, we also implemented all kinds of protocols around, we are cleaning our locations, physical cleaning with deep cleaning. We had duct cleaning, we had all the PPEs. I think in June it was mandated that the GTA, at least, I think it's expanded now that all masks are mandatory, so everyone wears a mask. We gloves for those who want to wear gloves, and we insist that members attending our branches also wear masks. One of the things that we, it's a bit of a, but I thought we're kind of proud of it. Very early in the pandemic, and this is before you saw all these plexiglass screens in the grocery stores and liquor stores and all the other retail outlets. I would say we're one of the earlier, if not one of the first, retail operations to implement plexiglasses. This is before you were getting emails, 5 different emails a day from vendors, third parties that want to sell you plexiglass. We actually had all our branches go to the local Home Depot, and we gave them instructions what size to buy, what kind of tape to buy, and if some of you maybe remember, if you're old as I am, we would MacGyver it to our counters and our desks so we can keep people safe. So a little bit humorous, but I think it's worked well for us, and since obviously we've improved the that barrier and how it works. Like others spoke, and I think we had to say, okay, well, we're going to shut down branch hours. How do we service members in this new normal? So we too started educating our members on our digital channels through our online banking application, our mobile application. And one of the things we also looked at right away early in the process was our call center. We knew we were going to get a lot more calls coming in because of the branches being closed. We were directing people from the branches to call the call center to handle transactions via phone, and indeed we did see an increase of about 48% in our transactions in our call center through the pandemic. So what we did, and I know it was challenging with staffing, but we were able to redeploy some of our branch staff to join the call center virtually, remotely, from all our different locations across Ontario, and take calls, sort of the overflow calls from our regular call center staff, and service our members that way. So that worked out very well, and we continue to do so. We also saw double-digit increases, 22% increase in our online transactions, and by the same token, we saw a significant decrease in branch transactions, not surprisingly, because of the reduced branch hours. In terms of support for members, we also offered loan deferrals during the pandemic, but curiously, we have a program prior to the pandemic. We've had it for many years, and it's a deferral program for any kind of financial hardship our members may have, whether you're being laid off at work, if you're experiencing some health issues and you can't make your loan commitments. We encourage people to reach out to us, and we will. Or if you go on strike, there's many different situations that members may find themselves. We will work with you to keep yourself up or financially strong, and we will work with differing loan payments as needed. We too participated in the CEBA program, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, and that was very popular, and a lot of our members took that up. We also provided lots of information on our website on all the government programs, not just the one we were supporting, but all the ones for individual and business members that were available, and are still available for that matter, for our members. We also increased communication to our members during the pandemic through our website, as well as through our social media, and as well as e-newsletter. We felt it was important to keep our members informed of what was happening, what our plans were, what we've done, why we've done it, and to encourage them to use at all times, to use as much as they can our digital channels to self-serve themselves, or to be able to handle their transactions. The other, and I think this was touched on by Ivanna as well, I'm not going to go into a long detail on it, but the other thing our board, the other item our board was looking at, management's looking at through the pandemic, is we didn't forget about our community. We know that just because the pandemic's here, not all the community organizations still need to function. So even though it was, these were hard, trying times and difficult times, we are still maintaining our support of the community, and we plan to continue to do so going forward. So we find that that's very, very important, whether it's through the Independence Day celebration, and I think they were already touched on. Ivanna touched on some of them. So we're also supporting those ventures as well through the pandemic. Although they were very different this year, not being able to do them, and like the Toronto Ukrainian Festival is a good example. Very big and popular festival in Toronto that was not quite the same as it was in past years. So, but we were there to support the work that was being done. I don't think I don't want to repeat more. I mean, a lot of it was covered already. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Romana.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to you on the second question in a few minutes,
sure.
But we're going to go next to Lisa Yawarski at Carpathia Credit Union in Winnipeg. So Lisa, tell us about the experience at Carpathia March through the summer. What's it been like? Just have to unmute you there. Can you? There you go.
There we go. Okay, good. Thank you. Much like what the previous panelists said and what Roman just touched on just recently is, yes, in March, a lot of our members didn't believe that the impact that this pandemic had. And so we were trying to do the best that we could in keeping everybody safe and following provincial guidelines. But members still wanted to come in, and they want to see us, and we love our members, but we were trying just gradually at first to make some changes to our business hours and operations to encourage our members to, with the self-serve options or online options. And so we started with reducing hours, from 10 till 4 versus our usual 9:30 to 5, and we didn't notice a big impact in our traffic flows. So we did reach out to other credit unions to see what their plans were in the city of Winnipeg, and a lot were moving to an appointment-only model. So I believe at the end of March we moved to that model, thinking that it was in the best interest of our members and our staff at that point in time to keep everybody healthy and safe. We don't have a call center, and so overnight all our branch staff turned into call center experts, and they were quite surprised on how much time they spent on the phone with members, and by the end of I think it was about 6 weeks, we were in that appointment only model. The feedback from them was that although they thought that was a really great idea to keep everybody safe, they preferred that going forward, if there were any other restrictions and lockdowns, that they would like to keep the doors open. And that was echoed by our members as well. They weren't very comfortable in understanding the appointment only model, and because we were really trying to limit to essential services that you couldn't do through self-serve or online. So now that we're in fast forward through the summer, and I guess I don't want to fast forward through the summer, we started reopening much sooner than a lot of other credit unions in the city. So the beginning of May, we started I guess we had a couple of branches due to staffing shortages that were closed, and they weren't open by the appointment only model. So our first step was to put them onto that schedule. Then we opened to in-branch traffic with reduced hours, and by the end of May, it was business as usual, in-branch traffic and full business hours. And we've continued with that model throughout the summer, and now we've had I guess at the beginning of September, provincial mandate of masks in all indoor spaces. But prior to that, we took it upon ourselves to encourage members to wear masks in branch. All our staff in branches did, and then it made that transition easier when it did become mandated by the province. Just last week, we went into code red. So again, that's more restrictions and lockdowns, but it's business as usual for us in the branches, and actually even our corporate staff. Even though we have I guess back in spring, we did get a lot of our core processing individuals set up to work from home, as well as our lenders, and we did send them home at that point in time, along with a lot of our managers and directors. This round, we are keeping everybody in branch to keep everybody healthy and safe. We did install plexiglass barriers in the branches for our tellers. All our lenders and offices have plexiglass barriers as well. And just more recently, even the corporate staff that, their workstations are a little bit closer together and they're not in offices. We have floor shields that kind of extend over the desk. So we feel like we've taken all the necessary precautions on top of all the hand sanitizer stations and deep cleaning and everything that everybody else is doing. And we hope the benefit is, our members that feel that they want to come out and see us. And we know that mental health is very important to everybody, both members, that's their daily outing or weekly outing, and they like to see our staff, as well as for our staff to be in a regular routine and to help with their mental wellness as well, that we feel that social interaction is helpful. Obviously, things change on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and we get feedback from our staff and members at all the time, and we adjust accordingly. So that might change, but for now, we're all happy to be in the office and physically distancing. As for what how we helped our members through all of this, besides being on the phone with them all the time in the springtime and now welcoming them back into the branch, we did allow for both our retail and commercial members up to 6 months of payment deferrals, and we did waive the fees related to those skip payments. When we went to the appointment only model in the spring, we waived fees for our telephone based transactions. We waived fees for e-transfers so we could encourage members that hadn't really taken up online banking to encourage them to do so. We also raised our debit card tap limits to enable people to do their regular shopping without having to make a lot of contact with all the devices. And we activated our e-transfers are allowed for higher limits, again, to make everybody's day-to-day banking just a little bit easier. We also did offer the CEBA program to our commercial members, and we were able to help just over 100 of our commercial members and counting, because there's always different versions coming out still, so we continue to work on that. So that spring was very busy with between our skip payments or payment deferrals and CEBAs. That was a big focus there for our lending team and support teams for sure. I think everybody else covered covered everything that we've taken into account as well. So I'll let us go to round two, the second question.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So next we're going to go to Mikhaileshin, who's the president of CUCUC, so not representing a specific institution. But Michael, tell us about what's the role been of your association, of your job in this time frame.
Yeah, thank you, Ihor. I think the pandemic has definitely affected both the council as well as all of its member credit unions. In some respects, it is business as usual just because of the nature of how we conducted our internal governance and how we were working with people interspaced throughout Ontario and in Quebec. So in that respect, the video calls, et cetera, continued. What the pandemic has affected, though, is a reprioritization of certain strategies and programs that were in the pipeline at CUCUC. So, for example, there were planned rollouts of certain member recruitment projects that obviously had to be put on pause alongside the immigration holds being put on pause. But they're basically on the back burner now, waiting for us to hopefully return to where I don't want to say new normal, but to where we were before in terms of mobility. One thing that the pandemic has definitely switched is on that reprioritization, driven more of a digital transformation that was basically touched on by the others. So an increase into capabilities of working remotely, interacting remotely. It's definitely had an impact on governance from the perspective of holding annual meetings, just like everybody else. So similar to everybody else in a lot of respects in terms of the work that we do, that carries on. One thing that I will note is that while the member services relationship between our member credit unions and the CUCUC has definitely switched because of physical distancing measures, one thing that hasn't changed is the speed at which the government, especially in Ontario, is pursuing regulatory shifts in rolling out with the new regulator FSRA, as well as amendments to the Credit Union Act that we continue to monitor. And so while we're all locked down, though the government relation work is still in full swing and has almost accelerated. So in terms of, I think that I'll segue into that on the next go around in terms of where the future, what the future looks like.
Okay, great. So we've CUCUC will tell us what the future looks like. We all look forward to that. And I want to also, so just to recap, I mean, it sounds like there's been amazing work going on between all of your organizations. You're talking to your members more often. You're all doing exceptional things to support them, help them get through these government programs, help them with their personal finances. So I think that collectively, you're really, showing us what credit unions do to support their members and the value both to individuals, to companies, and to the community. So I wanted to thank you, and I'm sure it's been a stressful time. It's easy to now sort of look back on it, but I know that all of you and your teams were going through the same stress that many organizations and individuals have been about, your personal safety as well as the safety of the people who come and visit you and who depend on you, really. So we're going to go to our second question now, and our second question sort of is, again, as Michael said, looking to the future, thinking about today and into the, I guess we're kind of into the winter, depending on where you are, into the winter, into the spring, and probably into the summer before anything changes from a vaccine or a public health perspective. And depending on who you talk to, could be longer or shorter. But sort of, anticipating this will be the situation that we have for the next number of months for sure, if not a year. We wanted to hear from your thoughts on what that looks like at your organization, what you're doing as well to look ahead. We have had a couple of people in the Q&A ask specific questions. So again, we're not going to give specific financial answers to your questions tonight. I would just recommend that you call the particular credit union that you have a question for, because we're talking about COVID tonight. We're not here to give financial advice, unfortunately, but we will take note of your questions and pass them along to the appropriate credit union. So we're going to go back to Ivanna for the second question, which is thinking about today onward through the next couple of months. What does it look like for DCU Financial? What do you have in the works, and what is it? What's the plan?
Thank you, Ihor. You know, when March came and the news was changing every day, information was changing every day, no one really knew what was coming. We're now in November. It seems not much has changed. We still don't know what's coming as we look into the future. And with that, BCU Financial is committed to providing personal service to our members and continue to assist them no matter what happens. And everything is still unfolding, and we're here to stay. And we're continuing to put resources into our IT infrastructure, into our e-banking services for our members, into our social networks, into our communications with our members and with our community, in order to assist them as we wait to find out what will unfold. As Raban mentioned earlier, we've always been prepared to help our members with their financial needs and their hardships far before the pandemic was even known to any of us. That will not change. And we're here to work together, and we all need to work together to ensure our safety and that our health is our top priority. We turn to our dedicated staff and our loyal members as we move into these darker and colder months now to ensure that we're all taking care of each other, and not just financially, but as a bigger family in all aspects of our lives, because that's truly what we're all about. And that's what makes the credit union system, no matter where you are, which credit union you bank with, that's what makes this all so awesome. And we're optimistic that if we all do our part, we can help curtail the spread of this virus, and that will continue to operate for the benefit of our community. І наша громадська праця продовжується. Наші кредитівки далі готові підтримувати наших членів, наших бізнесів та наших організацій. І кредитова спілка, як все, далі є серце української нашої громади, і ми далі будемо продовжувати нашу важливу громадську роботу на добро нас усіх. And if anyone has any concerns or has any questions, please reach out to us, info@bcufinancial.com. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Ivanna. Okay, over to Montreal, to Pani Ludmyla. What's the plan for Caisse Populaire Desjardins now and into the future?
Yeah, I wish we had this, crystal ball to... Well, we have very short list of our challenges for next year. Number one is to stay safe. That's like the motto for the Caisse employees and Caisse members. We managed quite well this period of time. We have a wonderful team, and due to the cheerful characters of each employee, this time was not too hard emotionally. Number two, I would say we would keep supporting Ukrainian community, because it's very important and it's the reason why we operate. Number three, we would have to go an extra mile and try harder with serving our clients. And the last but not the least, we should go deeper into the digital format, talking about pretty much everything. So that's our plan.
Excellent. That's a good plan. Okay, Pani Roman, over to you. I'm just going to make sure you're unmuted here. Here we go. Okay, Roman, so talking about UCU Limited, you're the Chief Operating Officer. What does that mean for you and for UCU in the months ahead?
So, yeah, like I think when we were talking about this in the summertime, June, July, we thought by the fall time we'll be looking at, a vaccine will be announced and things will be getting better. Although there were some of us that said there is going to be a second wave coming, and I think that's actually what happened is happening. Almost every day when I hear the news in the morning when I get up, it just seems to be the numbers are going up and are getting worse. I mean, I heard is it Saskatchewan, Alberta that have a major shutdown now. Nunavut's been impacted with 60 cases. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I know in that community it's probably huge given the kind of infrastructure they have there. So we don't feel this is going to, get better soon. And even if it does get better, it's probably not going to go back to where we were pre-pandemic. I think there's already been, fundamental changes in our world, in our economy, in our society. So we're taking that view. And I think there's a quote that still sticks with me. It was from one of our managers when this all started. And he said, hopefully I can get this right, the organization or entity that can figure out how to service their clients well in this environment is going to flourish. And that stuck with me when he brought that up. And I think we've sort of adopted that mantra that we got to look at ways in this environment to still provide that close, personal, and good service to our members and future members. So in terms of some more specifics, I think folks already, Ivanna, Ludmyla, you touched on it. The digital and digitalization is an important element of our future plans. We've had that on our radar prior to the pandemic, and I think the pandemic's basically lit a fire under our you-know-whats and said you better get moving now because you need these things in place sooner rather than later. Challenging because not all our members, are of the ilk or age that will take to those types of services readily. So we have to be cognizant of those members and not alienate them. So we're treading that line. But we're basically looking at expanding our digital services and remote services rapidly and in the coming year, I would say. So one of the things that I touched on our call center, how we kind of cobbled together a call center from supporting our call center for our branch staff. We're planning to actually move that even more forward. We're going to be extending our hours for our call center, and we're going to be expanding the services that the call center can provide to our membership. So that we find, I think it was Lisa touched on the phone, and the phone contact has still got a personal touch to it, but yet you're not having to be in personal contact or in that having to manage social distancing. And of course, we do currently have a fairly robust online banking and mobile app channel, e-transfers, everything, I've heard everyone else say, but we do know that we do have some gaps in terms of being able to service and I guess the word I'll use is fulfilling services through a remote channel, whether it's member onboarding, lending, mortgages, et cetera. So we're looking to expand in that area as well. We always are continuing to look at our branch hours. I think we still are very cognizant of keeping people safe, our members and our staff. So that's something that we constantly monitor and get feedback from our members. But in the immediate future, we're looking at maintaining still our reduced hours. Again, I didn't touch on it in the opening remarks, but of course our corporate governance and our corporate staff also had to live to learn a new way of working. Most of our corporate staff are working from home now and have been working from home. We've been having virtual board meetings. Had a virtual AGM and plan. I shouldn't speak out of turn because I'm not the board, but I think we're going to be planning to have a similar virtual AGM in the coming year. So that's still important. And of course, I'll come back to it again because I think it's very, very important. In addition to servicing our members and helping our members, we can't forget about our community, and we have to maintain our financial wherewithal so we can be able to provide and back to the community for the organizations that require that support to stay successful. So that's a very brief what we're planning in the future. And of course, if there's any relief programs coming out from the government or others, we try to plug into all of those as much as possible so we can get them to our members as well.
There are a lot of government programs, so I value the advice that each of you are giving because and they change as we learn. They change quite often. Thank you, Ivanna. Over to Lisa at Carpathia. So what's the month, season, year ahead look like for Carpathia?
Oh, I wish I had that crystal ball as well. What we might plan for the next little while could quickly change. I think just yesterday, the province is considering extending the school Christmas break from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, so that can quickly change our plans. I mean, our intention was to keep all 6 branches open, but then when you have staff with young families, and if they don't have any other childcare options, you know, that can quickly change. And so we might be looking at temporary branch closures, but really we want to be there for our members in person and on the phone. And so we're looking at developing a call center, as well as enhancing any of electronic services to help our members. We will be in close contact with all our members that have loans and mortgages with us to ensure that they are, if there any indication that there's any financial difficulties, we're going to be working with them as soon as we are aware of it. And so we don't have any specific programs to that, but it's just, again, the credit union way is to work one individually with each member and figure out a solution that's unique and that works for them and the credit union. So, and I think everybody else covered every other type of benefit that we want to provide to our members. So I'll keep it short and sweet, and I'll turn it back over to you, Ihor.
Great, thanks, Lisa. So we're going to turn over to Michael now from the council. But Michael, there was one question. Maybe you could address it in your remarks about how do credit unions ensure financial stability given the challenges that some members are facing. So could you maybe touch upon that in your answer to sort of what the time ahead looks like for the council?
Sure, absolutely. So I think from I'm gathering that the question is with respect to the financial stability of our community organizations, and I think one of the key elements there is to maintain open lines of communication with the credit union that you're affiliated with, or multiple credit unions, and those organizations are more than welcome to reach out to those credit unions through the council or directly to the credit unions. Because I think there's a large recognition within the Ukrainian credit union system that we are members of the Ukrainian communities that we serve, and we do want to be part of that community, and we want to help in as much as we can. To that end, maintaining open lines of communication within the community is critical, so that we know where we can direct those resources and where we can direct help that's needed. So I think the key thing is that we're here to help is the message. And if your organization is in need of financial assistance or other types of help in terms of hey, how did you do online meetings, or anything else that maybe is a problem that isn't part of our core services, but that we have solved, we'll be more than happy to share our knowledge with community organizations. In the off chance that this was part of our Ukrainian credit unions in the community stable, I think the message is yes, absolutely. I think all of our members have and should be reassured that the internal governance processes of the CUCUC member credit unions are strong, that those internal processes are minding the levels of risk that the credit unions have, and that notwithstanding the dramatic impact that this has had on organizations everywhere, that we are here to stay and that we will endure this. The final point before we move on is I think there has been a large shift in terms of online banking, and I think it's critical to remember that the credit unions have taken a very direct look at the risks associated with online banking, and that we've done our best to mitigate those risks and provide assurances to our members that there is security in those platforms. And so while the pandemic is scary, online banking doesn't have to be. And so if there are any questions with respect to moving towards digital channels and away from in-person service, while maintaining a personal touch, please reach out to your respective credit union and have those discussions with them, because I think the products and services through online delivery channels that you'll find are great and will benefit you greatly.
Excellent. Thanks for answering that. So we're just about to wrap up, but we did have one more question typed in, and I'll give a chance to our panelists if they want to talk about it. So obviously, part of communicating is through this medium we're doing now, and as you said, videos and other kind of, and phone and email and all the rest of it. So does anyone want to talk about sort of some of the new technologies, perhaps apps or other sort of new technological solutions that your credit union is taking on that you might want to highlight? Anything new? We'll start with maybe with Lisa and then work our way backwards to Ivanna. Lisa, anything in terms of the technology side that you wanted to highlight?
We don't have anything on the docket right now that I would say that, you know, we're rolling out in the next few months. We are looking at onboarding members electronically and really looking at the security around it, because there are challenges around that, and we don't want to implement something that we're not comfortable with. And we do have, I guess, one thing that will be in branch. I believe it's called Verifast. Nick Rawlick's very passionate about it, so I wish he was here to talk about it today. But it's because it'll be an easy way to identify our members, and it's using the vein system in their hands, and you just get to hover it over, and then it pulls up all their information. And so, you know, just recently going through a merger and having branch staff move around all the time and always new faces with members and stuff like that, you know, they do always wonder why we want to be checking their ID and verifying who they are. And this will be just the easier way to do that. So I'm not sure if that's a technology that's being utilized anywhere else, but we're looking forward to implementing that. That's for sure coming out in the next little while. So
Sounds
that's
like
all I have to know.
Star Trek to me. Very fast. Okay. Romana, anything from UCU on the technology side that you wanted to highlight? And just
not new. I guess new maybe for us. I think I touched on some of them. And that's sort of the whole idea of full sales and fulfillment through a digital channel, like member onboarding, lending, mortgages. One of the things I forgot to mention we did, and I think, and this isn't new technology, but I think we're getting more used to using it, is actually these video conferences. So one thing we did do, we started in the summertime, because how do we communicate with our members? We used to have, you know, seminars in person, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things we started deploying quite a bit, and they were quite successful, is topical webinars for our staff. For our members. This would include topics on wealth management, buying a home, mortgages, insurance, which were and especially during these times, they were very interesting topics for our members. So I think it's not new technology, but I think a simple video. We talked about phones. These are all technologies that exist, but I think we have to start leveraging them more in this so-called new normal. So yeah. Yeah, that's
absolutely. Well, and doing these webinars has been a new adoption for us at UCC, and actually we've been learning a lot, and I think everybody's been learning a lot from bringing people together across Canada to have these conversations. Okay, Ludmyla, anything from the Desjardins side that you wanted to highlight or mention?
Well, talking about dealing with clients, I would say that Microsoft Teams meetings, it's quite a new thing that we employed since March. And well, younger clients, they're very happy to meet with our financial advisors via digital media. As I mentioned before, that older generation likes to come over, and they don't really, well, some of them do, but many of them don't really like new phones and other gadgets. Well, as for like the technological, like the general IT base in Desjardins is quite strong, and they employ all new and most modern ways of dealing with clients because it's a big structure, and they can easily compete with largest banks in the North America. So.
Okay, great. And finally, Ivanna, anything on the technology side that you wanted to mention from VCU? I just have to unmute you. There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had a lot of projects on our books for the last little while that we've been working on. Obviously, the pandemic has also had us reevaluate our timelines and try to speed them up as much as possible. So one of the major projects we've been working on is actually a brand new online banking and mobile platform, which will be hopefully rolling out in the near future. This will be far more streamlined and user-friendly for our members to conduct their banking transactions, and it will also have a lot of new features that we haven't had available for our members. So it's very exciting that that's coming soon. A lot of our younger members, our more tech-savvy members, are very excited for this change, and with that, actually, because of the pandemic and the growing need for more people to be doing their transactions online, a lot of our older members are excited about the changes too, because it will allow them to do what they need to do while staying at home and maintaining their distance when needed. And so we're continuing to put in resources also, as Raman had mentioned, into account and loan origination, e-signing documents for mortgages and that kind of thing as well as we move forward. So our IT department is, and we're really looking forward to the changes just to benefit everybody as we move forward.
Excellent. That's a great question. So I'm glad that we had a chance to hear from everybody. So again, we're just going to wrap up and thank all of our panelists from across Canada for the work that you are doing, that your organizations are doing to support your members, our community, the businesses, the individuals, the nonprofit sector and voluntary sector, which is an important one as well. And we thank you for what you're doing, and we thank you for what you will do to support us going forward. So again, this wraps up tonight's community conversation on the impacts of COVID. For anybody who would like to see the rest of our community conversations, we've had a lot of different interesting discussions with different sectors. So that's all on our UCC.ca website or on YouTube. And we again thank you very much for your participation tonight. If you do have any other questions, you can contact your local credit union or send us an email at ucc@ucc.ca, and we'll pass that along to the local credit union nearest you to have them answer it. So na dobranic.